Psalm 91 is the most quoted protection psalm in the Bible. Soldiers carry it into war. Parents pray it over their children. During the pandemic, searches for it broke records. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. But here is what almost nobody tells you. Everything in this psalm, every promise, every angel, every shield, depends on one Hebrew word in the very first line. The word translated, secret place. And if you do not know what that word actually means, you are reading Psalm 91 as a lucky charm, when it was written as an address. That word is H-ter. In the next few minutes, I will show you what it means, why the devil himself quoted the psalm and misused it, and what the secret place actually looks like in your life. The Hebrew word in verse 1 is sether, from the verb satah, to hide. It does not mean a secret in the sense of information, something you know that others don't. It means a hiding place, a physical location of concealment. David uses this exact word elsewhere in the Psalms, when he was hiding from Saul in the caves of the Judean desert. A sether is where you go when someone is hunting you. It is the cleft in the rock, the cave behind the waterfall, the place your enemy walks past without seeing you. So read the first verse again, with that meaning. He who dwells in the hiding place of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. Two things change immediately. First, the psalm assumes you are being hunted. You do not need a hiding place on a good day. Psalm 91 is not a psalm for people whose lives are fine. Verse 3 mentions the fowler's snare, a hidden bird trap. Verse 5 mentions terror by night and arrows by day. Verse 6 mentions pestilence and plague. This psalm was written into a world of real, active danger, and it does not promise the danger is fake. It promises a location the danger cannot reach. Second, the promise is conditional on where you live. Notice the verb, he who dwells, not he who visits, not he who runs there in emergencies. The Hebrew word for dwell, yeshav, means to sit down, to settle, to make your home. This is the single most misread thing about Psalm 91. People treat it like a spiritual emergency number, quote it when the diagnosis comes, when the plane shakes, when the fear hits. But the psalmist is describing something else entirely, a permanent address. The protection belongs to the one who lives in the hiding place, not the one who occasionally shouts toward it. Which raises the obvious question, how do you live in an invisible location? What does that actually mean on a Tuesday? The psalm answers that in its own structure. Watch this. The first two verses of Psalm 91 do something no other psalm does this compactly. They stack 4 different names of God on top of each other. 1. Elyon, the Most High, the name of God above every power, every king, every force. 2. Shaddai, the Almighty, the name of unlimited strength, first revealed to Abraham. 3. Yahweh, the Lord, the personal covenant name, the name God gave to Moses at the burning bush. 4. Elohim, my God, the Creator, with the word my attached. 4 names in 2 verses. This is not decoration. The psalmist is answering our question, how do you dwell in the hiding place? By showing us what he knows about who God is. And then verse 2 does something even more specific. After describing God in the third person, the psalmist suddenly speaks directly. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. I will say, out loud. The dwelling happens through declaration, through what you say about God before the danger arrives, and in the middle of it. In other words, the secret place is not a location you find. It is a relationship you speak. The one who dwells in the sether is the one whose default response to reality, morning after morning, threat after threat, is, "He is my refuge, my fortress, my God." That little word, "my," is the front door of the hiding place. Now here's the part of Psalm 91's story that most people have never put together, and it is the strongest warning in Scripture about misusing this psalm. Psalm 91 is the psalm the devil quoted to Jesus. In Matthew chapter 4, Satan takes Jesus to the pinnacle of the temple and says, "Throw yourself down, for it is written, He will command His angels concerning you. On their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone." That is Psalm 91, verses 11 and 12, quoted word for word. Think about what Satan was doing. He took the Bible's greatest promise of protection and turned it into a dare. If the promise is real, test it, jump, force God's hand. And Jesus answered with Deuteronomy, "You shall not put the Lord your God to the test." This exchange defines the boundary of Psalm 91. The psalm is a promise for those who dwell in the hiding place. It is not a mechanism for manufacturing danger and demanding rescue. Satan's version of Psalm 91 makes God your servant. I jump, you catch. The real Psalm 91 makes God your dwelling. I abide, you cover. Same verses, opposite religions. And this is why the Lucky Charm reading of Psalm 91 fails people. If you treat the psalm as a guarantee that nothing bad will ever happen to you, one honest look at the world, at faithful people who suffered, will shatter it. But that was never the claim. Verse 15 says it plainly, "I will be with him in trouble," not instead of trouble, in it. The promise of the hiding place is not the absence of the valley, it is the presence of God in it, which, if you watched our Psalm 23 video, is exactly where that psalm landed too. Same shepherd, same theology, for thou art with me. There is one more feature of Psalm 91 that almost every reader misses, and it may be the most stunning thing in the psalm. In the last 3 verses, the speaker changes. For 14 verses, the psalmist has been talking about God to us. Then without warning, verse 14 switches to first person, and it is no longer the psalmist speaking. It is God. Because he holds fast to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him because he knows my name. When he calls to me, I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will rescue him and honor him. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Count them. 8. I will statements. I will deliver. I will protect. I will answer. I will be with him. I will rescue. I will honor. I will satisfy. I will show him my salvation. The psalm ends with God personally co-signing everything the psalmist claimed. It is the only psalm structured this way. A human declaration of trust in verses 1 and 2, and a direct divine response in verses 14 through 16. You speak your address in verse 2, "My refuge, my fortress," and God answers back in verse 14, "Because he holds fast to me in love." The hiding place is a two-way conversation. So let me give you Psalm 91 back, the way it was written. Not a lucky charm, not a force field, not a verse to shout when the turbulence starts. An address, a hiding place, sether, that exists for people who are genuinely being hunted by real dangers in a real world. A place you dwell in, not visit. A door that opens with one small word, me, and a promise at the end, in God's own voice, that the one who lives there will never face the trouble alone. I will be with him in trouble. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge, and my fortress, my Co, in whom I trust. Say the my. That is the whole psalm.